All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets here in the NBA, mostly concentrated on PrizePicks and Underdog, but I'll also be calling out some other bets on some other sportsbooks. Let's go and get into it. Now, guys, as I'm recording this video, we really aren't getting that many great prop bets in general today on the PrizePicks or Underdog cheat sheets. The last 2 days have actually been pretty high volume days in terms of us getting plenty of good bets, and so that does make sense. But I'm also recording this video before we're really getting a lot of those fantasy score prop bets for PrizePicks or Underdog, where we know we are typically getting our biggest edges. We're also coming in off of 2 pretty darn good days. So over the past 2 days, I've given out 10 bets, only one of them has missed, and so just be a little bit cautious. Typically we see a little bit of regression when we're on that much of a hot streak. But looking at today's slate, obviously I had the first game pulled up here. We got the Spurs versus the Pacers. And so we go ahead and look at this game, guys. We do know that Jeremy Sohan is still listed as questionable. He is expected to sit. That's the biggest piece of injury news that we're looking at here. If we look at the game total, decently high scoring game, and it's also a close game. So this on paper should be a game that we are able to attack. And so we look at some of the bets that we are getting here, guys. We are getting some actually decent spots here with the Pacers. Now, they're going to be more of like traditional sportsbook bets here for prize instead of like PrizePicks or Underdog bets. But we see here with Miles Turner, we're getting a decent edge there. It's a good matchup for him. All the other lines are telling us that he should be favored to get around 8, but slightly over 8 rebounds and assists. We go ahead and look at his game log. It has been a little bit hit or miss here. That's true. And on top of that, he hasn't had a matchup here against the Spurs. But that being said, for PrizePicks, I think this has a good chance to end up being a push. Now, from there, we are seeing something like Andrew Nembhard. We could be looking at to get over 4.5 assists. That's not a terrible bet. We see the game log. I actually really like this game log here, guys. Now, we see last game, not that many minutes. Okay, 29 minutes in that game. 5 assists, and then besides that, when he has been able to get to around 30 minutes or maybe even over 30 minutes, he has been consistently getting this over. I think this is a solid bet. We are seeing some differing lines here, mostly though at around minus 130. I honestly expect this to get bumped by the time, lineup lock here for this game. But those are kind of the 2 I wanted to call just because it seems like we're getting some good spots there. The rest of them, like maybe like Benedict Mathurin for under his PRA. Okay, we see tough matchup. Everything else is kind of telling us to bet the under. We see game log wise been pretty darn inconsistent. Now thus far this season he does average this over, and even over the last 11 games still averaging that over, but only getting there if we're doing a game stack. And then, guys, we go ahead and take a quick peek here at the Spurs prop bets. To me, we're pretty much getting them all correct. Maybe you want to get to Chris Paul for over his points, 8.5 points. Gets a pretty decent matchup here. Nothing that I would go crazy with. We do see is a little bit too hit or miss. So with that, let's go ahead now and jump on into the next game. So we go ahead now and get into this next game. We got Portland versus Orlando. So looking at it, guys, Orlando is still very banged up, as we have seen really this whole season. With Jalen Suggs still out, we are actually seeing Cole Anthony could potentially sit in this game here as well, which would create a lot of value. But guys, they are so banged up here. There's going to be some spots where we should be able to get to. Now, if Cole Anthony plays, he is still going to see that minutes bump, and we know with him, he is someone that can be productive scoring the basketball. Now, we are also seeing that Franz Wagner could be back in this game, but with that, his minutes would end up being limited. So he's another player where I don't know if we exactly need to go out of our way to target them. And really, for Orlando, with kind of the inconsistency and or I guess unpredictability in who's going to play and really how many minutes they're going to get, to me this kind of feels like a clear stay away, especially with Orlando, who typically is a lower scoring team as is. Definitely don't want to be targeting overs, I would say. We'll jump into Portland. Portland a little bit better, but they are still pretty banged up here as well. A lot of players are listed as day-to-day. So with that, like, what do we do with that, right? Like Denny Avdia is projected to see a minutes bump. Simons is expected to see a minutes bump, but really all those players to me are pretty much stayaways. We are seeing maybe potentially Denny Avdia for under his assists. Not terrible. That one has almost a 53% likelihood to hit. He does get that difficult matchup against Orlando, and maybe some of those other players do end up being active in this game to the point where he doesn't get the minutes that we are hoping and expecting him to get. All right, so we go ahead here and get into this next game. We got the Bucks versus Miami, guys. Looking at Miami, Jimmy Butler was suspended again for 2 more games. Tough to see what's going on. Maybe the Bucks are going to be his new team. I doubt that, but whatever. Looking at it, Ware is expected to get a decent amount of run in this game, mostly because he's projected to start, right? Tyler Hero's day-to-day. We'll see if he plays. He's probable for Thursday, so expected to play. Josh Richardson's still out. So with that, we are going to see maybe the best spot that we get is going to be Tyler Hero here for over his rebounds and assists of 10.5. Okay, we've seen all the data points kind of light the over here. but more so at 9.5. That's going to be a better bet. This actually makes me want to call out. Let's see if we are getting any other good bets here for Tyler Hero, maybe in some of these other books that we are getting. And so, guys, we look at this here with Tyler Hero. We could potentially be on him, maybe on BetMGM or, one of these other sites here where we're getting the line here at 9.5. The issue with this bet is basically all of them are giving him a decent likelihood to get the over. Maybe DraftKings minus 135. We do see the consistency there. He has consistently been able to get this over. Against Milwaukee, the one game, lots of minutes in that game, and was able to get to 10 there. So if you guys want to get there on PrizePicks or Underdog, you'll be bumped, but decent chance for that one to be a push. We'll go ahead and jump back into the game preview. That's really it for, I would say, Miami right now. And so we'll jump on into the Bucks. The Bucks, AJ Green could be out. Giannis, I'm kind of expecting him to play. He's probable. Chris Middleton probably going to play as well. We'll see. But at the same time, I guess it wouldn't be shocking to see one of those players end up sitting in this game. A tough bet here is Chris Middleton with his assists. The minutes have been fluctuating a little bit here, coming in off the bench and whatnot, but it makes it a little bit more difficult. But let's take a deeper dive at these because I do think we are slightly gaining some edges here. So we look at Chris Middleton here, guys, and we are going to notice that he has been, pretty darn consistent, a little bit like hit or miss here. We see, 4-game stretch there where he wasn't getting the overs there, and now with the last 4 games he has gotten the over. So maybe there could be a potential for a little bit of regression there. But all in all, a pretty decent bet. All the sportsbooks are pretty much giving us the exact same lines across the board as well. So I could end up getting there. We see Giannis over 5.5 assists is another kind of decent bet there. I don't think we need to get there just looking at the data points. Maybe Brook Lopez for, points, rebounds, and assists. The data is telling us to bet the under. Maybe we could get there. Against the Miami Heat, he does draw a more difficult matchup, but if you look at the last few games, he's been crushing it. But that's why we probably shouldn't be looking at the last 5 games. If you guys are someone that just swipes through PrizePicks and placing bets like that, it's not a good way. I think this is a good example of that because we're seeing this, and obviously the matchup with Miami is a little bit more difficult, and you're not able to see that, right? And so, and speaking of those popular bets, we see Lillard here at 18.5 points. I really do not understand this. How are goblin bets ever popular? I mean, I get that a lot of these are probably bets that people got on before they were made into goblin bets, but one, they should be taken off the popular board. But 2, I think people are just like, oh yeah, he's got the over. It grinds my gears. They're just not good bets. Even PrizePicks running out that promo yesterday, I kind of hated it. It's just oh, you want me to risk $20 so I can win $5? Thank you so much, Price. It's the dumbest thing ever. We'll jump on into the next game here. All right, guys, so we go ahead here and look at this game now. We got Toronto versus Atlanta, a pretty high scoring game. 233.5 is going to be the game total here. Decently close scoring game here as well. So this is a game where we could potentially be tacking. So the Toronto Raptors are going to be without Abaji and then also Quickly. And so with that, we have seen Jamal Sheed get a little bit more run. He's kind of a fun player. Scotty Barnes has seen a massive minutes increase still, okay, which is kind of nice. I shouldn't say massive, but when you're a guy that plays 33 minutes and then it's a game that's supposed to be close and we haven't projected to get 35 minutes, I could see that end up being a little bit higher here, actually. Then we scroll down here, guys. We're seeing Grady Dick also gets a pretty darn good matchup here as well. And those are kind of 2 players I want to look at. I want to look at Scotty Barnes and I want to look at Grady Dick. So for Scotty Barnes here, guys, we are going to see a lot of good bets here on paper in terms of the matchup. Now, the projection data, again, that's more DFS-based projections where it does tend to try to get more of the ceiling. And so the fact that those are kind of telling us the unders, I don't like that. But across the board, I kind of do want to get to some of these bets. I'm actually curious to see where his lines are going to come out to be. Let's take a peek at some of his game logs here, guys. Again, if he does get, 34 plus minutes in this game, I do think there's a good chance for him to get this over. But again, I think in a game stack, we could be getting to Scotty Barnes potentially where he should be solid. Now, a good kind of traditional bet I actually really don't mind is Scotty Barnes get over 6.5 assists. All the day sportsbooks are kind of telling us to bet the under for the most part, minus Bovada that likes him to get over 5.5, right? They're heavily liking him to get that over. He has gotten the over in 3 straight games, but again, this is more of a matchup-based stack there. And then let's go ahead and take a peek at Grady Dick because he is popping as well. And so we look at Grady Dick here. The one issue with him is his minutes. So with everyone kind of back and healthy, he might see a reduction in his minutes. And we see that reduction in minutes has led to him really not getting a lot of his overs, especially at this line. But prior to that, obviously a little bit more run was getting the overs. And so maybe it's tough to really gauge this one, honestly, because the minutes were basically there, a little bit of a different role for Grady Dick here. But again, it's more of the matchup that we would want to be targeting. It's a very good matchup. And so even though he is seeing a little bit different role, obviously in his usage, that's gone down. His points per 36 go down with this current roster, health of this roster. but it wouldn't be surprising to see him get this over even in the minutes given the matchup. So not terrible, but also not something we need to go crazy with here. And then we go ahead here and take a peek at Atlanta, guys. So Atlanta, we are seeing Enika Ganku again, a little bit of a minutes bump in his projection. Does that lead to anything for us? No, not really. And sadly, I'm not seeing that much of a game stack here in terms of the lines we could be going out of our way to make, or the bets that we could be going out of our way to make given the line. So I wish we could run back some of those Toronto potential stacks, but we just don't have that. So we'll go ahead and move on into Dallas versus OKC. Looking at it, guys, decent chance that this game does end up being a blowout, right? 13 points. I think we should plan for it being a blowout. And so with that, we might be seeing some players get a little bit less minutes than they typically get. Now, they are still pretty banged up. The Dallas Mavericks are still pretty banged up. And so we are seeing Daniel Gafford get a minutes bump, but he also does get a difficult matchup. And again, with this game potentially being a blowout, can we really trust that? I don't hate the idea of getting to his rebounds. It is a good matchup, but to me, looking at the lines that we were getting, they're already adjusting for the good matchup for him. And then from there, like PJ Washington, we know that with all those players out, he is someone that does get a big bump in his usage just in general. If Klay Thompson were to sit, and we already know Luka's out, like his usage does go up. If we had some good over bets here, I'd be happy to get there. But with the matchup that we have, it's mostly just to stay away. We'll take a peek here at OKC. So guys, with OKC, we are seeing Isaiah Hartenstein still out, Chet Holmgren, obviously Joe out. So they got a lot of players out. And so with that, Jalen Williams is someone that should, see a decent amount of run in this game. And to me, he's someone that could end up getting additional run in this game, even if it ends up being a blowout. Now, I don't know if we need to go out of our way to target any bets for him. Like, we're probably just staying away, but he would be the one player that I would want to get to the most. Again, guys, a little bit of a tighter board as I'm recording this video, unfortunately. But that'd probably be the spot that I would want to get to with him. So looking at this next game, we got Denver versus Sacramento. 8.5 point spread. A very high scoring game total. So even if it does end up being a blowout, we probably will be able to get enough out of most of the players here, assuming the blowout doesn't occur too fast. And so ideally, this would be a game that we would stack. Ideally, like once the fantasy score lines come out, this would be the spot that we'd want to get to. We are still seeing Malik Monk, still kind of getting more of that minutes bump, which we'd like to see. Now, we look at some of the bets that we were getting here, guys. Like we look at this De'Aaron Fox bet where Vegas is telling us to bet the under. Again, this kind of feels like a spot where we'd want to do the opposite. Okay. I think that's solid. DeMar DeRozan over rebounds and assists. I'm fine with that. And Sabonis over his assist. Those are 3 bets that I think more for traditional books we'd want to get to. And so again, I kind of want to take a peek at some of those. So obviously, guys, so for those that are not familiar with kind of what we're doing here with this specific tab, we are looking at the edge is determined here by taking a look at the average sportsbook line without the juice, and then we're comparing each line with the juice associated with it. So if we ever get positive, if we ever get that over 1, that's just clearly a great bet regardless of the other data. But this kind of calls out just how much of an edge, typically speaking, like a traditional sportsbook has on us, especially compared to like how we bet on PrizePicks or Underdog. Now, obviously, I know most people aren't able to bet on both, but this just makes you more aware of kind of what I'm calling out. Like Sleeper, if you guys want to place bets on this, you could do that. But looking at guys like De'Aaron Fox for over his assist of 5.5, I think that's a solid bet. But besides that last game against Golden State, had been doing pretty well in this department. And then again, given the game total here, I think we could actually end up getting to his over rebounds and assists as well. I think that's a decent line. Then we'll take a peek here at DeMar DeRozan as well. We see he's been able to consistently get this over. And again, decent game stack. If we're trying to tack some bets for this game, I think that's a good idea. It's like, that's a game stack that we get to there with him. And then let's take a peek at Sabonis. Sabonis with his assist. I don't know if we exactly need to get there, but again, if you guys are looking to extend a bet into like a 5 or 6 slip bet, you could get there. It is worth calling out, guys, at 6.5. The data does like the under at 5 or at 6, where it's currently at, being bumped there. I actually think we could argue it should be closer to 6.5. Now, if it was at 6.5, we would be betting the under here. It's kind of weird how that works, but at 6, I think there's a good chance for it to be a push. But all the data points tell us it should be closer to 6.5. So again, maybe a little bit of a stack there. And so we go ahead here and take a quick peek at some of the Denver prop bets that we're getting. I mean, maybe Strother to get his over points of 8.5. To me, that seems to be a little bit too high. It's definitely hit or miss. I don't really see much here. The best bet that we are getting is like 52.7. And so, yeah, we really don't need to do much there. But again, do like the other side of that game with the Kings. Let's go ahead and jump back into the game the game preview. Got 3 more games left, looking at Boston versus the Lakers. And so looking at, guys, the Lakers are still pretty banged up. D'Angelo Russell's not with the team, just as an FYI. Looking at Max Christie, is it still expected to see that minutes bump that he has been getting? I do think we could get to LeBron James for over his rebounds. This is actually probably one of the better like bets here, guys, for just if you're not someone that wants to bet on like fantasy score prop bets for PrizePicks or wait until that. I think LeBron over 6.5 rebounds is probably the best bet we have currently. Assuming that this game does stay close, we are seeing some differing lines here, right? And the game total, not too crazy high scoring, only 218, 219 or so. But I don't mind that over rebounds. I think that's a decent little edge that we were getting. And then we'll take a peek here at Boston. Boston, guys, Al Horford out, Drew Holiday out, Porzingis out. Now, that was from last night's game. They are all still kind of questionable for this game. We are seeing minutes for all those guys. But given the fact that this is a back end of back-to-back, maybe someone like Derek White ends up sitting now. Maybe that happens. Because, again, they go deep. That wouldn't be too shocking to see something like that happen. Now, with that being said, Derek White for over his points, rebounds, and assists is probably one of the better bets that we are getting here, guys. I don't know if we need to go crazy with it, but not a terrible bet there. But again, to me, really the best bet that we have, maybe on the day, in terms of like data points that all kind of check all the boxes together. I think LeBron for over 6.5 rebounds is decent. Take a peek here at Chicago and Golden State. So we look at this game, guys. It's tough because if AO were to play, if Kobe White were to play, then that does change who we'd want to be on. Like Josh Giddey obviously benefits with those two players out a decent amount. But if they all end up playing, then they all kind of hurt each other. Lonzo Ball, some that would benefit with those two players out. And so with that, it is tough. Like either you're game stacking or slip stacking, I guess, for those players to be out or to be active. And so for the most part, just generally speaking, mostly just to stay away. Look at Nikola Jokic with his rebounds and assists here, guys. So it's a very good matchup. We see that for him. But it's probably juiced up a little bit too much for the matchup is what I'm seeing here. And really all the lines are pretty solid in this game, at least right now. Again, that could change with the potential injuries or players sitting. So looking at this Golden State Warriors game, guys, very, very limited starting lineup, right? And so with us not having all the information for like who's going to play in this game, it's really not worth mentioning too much here for the Golden State Warriors. And so let's get into this last game. We got the Clippers versus Washington, guys. Obviously a good matchup here for Washington, but it's a game that is probably going to be a blowout. And so again, with that, it's kind of tough to really get to any of these prop bets here for the Clippers. And especially with the lines already adjusting here for this matchup with Washington. Like we're seeing it, guys. Clearly, all the Vegas thinks that we should be betting the unders on the lines that they are currently giving. And with the potential for these players to not see a minutes bump, actually a minutes decrease, mostly just to stay away there for me. We'll take a peek at Washington. Are we getting any good bets for them? I mean, Kyle Kuzma is still expected to see kind of that minutes bump. Maybe we could get to him. J-Val. I mean, if the game stays close, yeah, he's going to be part of the reason as to why. And this points and assist prop bet wouldn't be terrible. But yeah, it seems like we're kind of just getting correct lines there. All right, and let's just go ahead and jump into like the traditional sportsbook tab so you guys can see which bets are currently very good bets. So like Tyler Hero for over his rebounds, 4.5 is currently just a good bet across the board on like DraftKings. That's the best bet that we have right now on the board. We're actually again plus edge there. So again, that should never happen. And all the data points really suggest that we should be betting the over. So that's a very good bet there. Same thing with SGA here, guys, where we're getting a plus edge on FanDuel over 11.5. Rebounds and assists. Rebounds and assists. That's a hammer bet. And then you could also do, those are the best bets. And then let's see here. Any other ones? DeAndre Hunter for over 3.5 rebounds. Maybe. Yeah, the Tyler Hero over his rebounds is a solid one. And SGA. So two really good bets there. We'll take a peek at Underdog as it sits right now. Are we getting any hammer bets there? And guys, for what it's worth on PrizePicks or Underdog, it's just too early for us to really be getting any lock bets because we are typically comparing that against Underdog's lines. But we are getting a couple of hammer bets here for Underdog. Trae Young for over rebounds or points and assists here, guys. A little bit too high at 38.5. So that's a decent bet. And then SGA for under his points here at 31. And so guys, we are going to go ahead and get into the 95 bets of the day. But again, if you guys want to, just make better, more educated bets, make sure to head on over to 95sports.com. Including that, you guys will get access to all the fantasy golf data as well. So 95 is one of the best fantasy golf sites out there. Fantasy golf is a pretty predictable sport. And so I got a bunch of tools there. Basically, 50% is fantasy golf of the site, and then 50% is going to be props betting here as well. With that, you guys will get access to the PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheets as well for all the various sports that we have. If you guys want to, make sure to head on over to 95sports.com. You guys can sign up, get access to all the tools for just $10 a month when you visit the pricings and plans tab. All right, so getting into the 95 bet of the day here, guys. For Underdog, I am just going with those two hammer bets that we were currently getting. I feel pretty good about those two. And so then, guys, just looking at PrizePicks, I'm going to be going with that LeBron bet and then also the Derek White bet. But again, guys, like we are getting better bets on the 9 to 5 PrizePicks cheat sheet right now in Underdog. cheat sheet is obviously for the NBA crowd. If you guys are just trying to make the best bets possible, make sure to check that out maybe middle of the day, and also maybe like an hour before lineup lock as well. There for NBA bets specifically, we are getting a couple of okay college basketball prop bets in there right now. A few decent NFL prop bets. I'll be releasing a video for the NFL Saturday game later today, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to do it, guys. Thank you for watching. Good luck with all your bets, and as always, let's keep cashing.